covering Northern California. You're watching Action News Now, coverage you can count on.
New tonight, a barricaded train station in Redding. What it means for your next trip.
Plus,
are you ever afraid that you're going to get back into a legal battle and be sued for, for libel or anything like that?
Well, you can't be sued for telling the truth.
Sherry Papini's message to our community about what she says really happened back in 2016.
And breaking news, a July 4th celebration canceled in Chico. What prompted this last-minute change?
But first, we're following more breaking news in Shasta County, where a fire is burning southeast of Lakehead. The horse fire is what they're calling it. It has now grown to 85 acres, and fire officials describe it having a moderate rate of spread. They say it's burning right in the 2018 car fire burn scar.
Now, we do have some video from the scene. A reporter was just out there. You can see a lot of smoke still. The fire started just before 1 this afternoon in the area of Shell Mountain, south of the Clear Creek campground. Right now, there are no evacuation orders or warnings. This is a pretty rural area, but fire officials want you to stay away so crews can do their job. Again, we do have a reporter nearby. We're going to bring you the latest developments on air and online, and we will have a full report tonight at 11.
Now a live look at the horse fire right there. This is obviously a little less than what we saw in that video from earlier from the Alert California McCabe Ridge camera. But there's still enough smoke there to be concerned.
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Howie Gordon's tracking it for us. Howie, it does look better. Conditions are not too bad when it comes to the wind, right?
Conditions are similar to yesterday, and I'm talking about a lot going on here in Northern California. So red flag warnings. We're looking at severe and strong thunderstorms taking place. Now, if you are near some of these storms where winds are the outflow, the push down of the winds and out, they could cover 25 miles and can see 40, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. That is very dangerous. Now, we're looking at these storms that were in Modoc, about 40 miles southeast of Klamath Falls. It's a pretty stationary storm, but let's break down the rest of the atmosphere. So very hot, we know that, dry, dry, dry. But here's our winds around the area. No, they're really not that bad overall. I'm not really that, okay, oh, look out for these winds today. No, we don't want wind when we're as dry as we are. But here's our moisture levels, 15 or lower, very dangerous. We're a little bit above that, so that's not good either. But we're still looking at red flag warnings in parts of the area. Most of them shifted over further east for today. And here's a look at our conventional diagnostics. So temperatures coming down, winds, I don't like that for tomorrow. Moisture levels a little higher, that's better news. We're going to keep it at moderate though for fire potential risk. Now, unless you're near those thunderstorms, conditions can be a lot more aggravated.
All right, thank you, Howie. Breaking news, the July 4th event at Silver Dollar Speedway is canceled due to the tragic Esparto explosion. The fireworks intended for the annual Fast Cars and Freedom event were destroyed during that explosion in Yolo County. That massive explosion that you see here caught on camera from yesterday evening. It happened at a fireworks warehouse in Yolo County, and this caused an 80-acre fire. It also forced evacuations through the area. New today, officials say 7 people are missing. Sutter County's 4th of July fireworks show at Riverfront Park is also canceled. Now, Oroville's show will go on as planned. The Silver Dollar Speedway will be back in action on July 18th with Fan Appreciation Night.
The Amazon Distribution Center in Orland completed its 25 millionth delivery today. Action News Now reporter Nathan Espindula shows us the milestone.
Orland is in the future. You know, this Amazon facility is retail today and retail in the future.
To Mayor Matt Romano, the Amazon Delivery Center in Orland is a guarantee that his city will keep up with the times. It opened 4 years ago and the facility reached the 25 million delivery mark today. Something Amanda Garcia, the site leader, says will only push her team to greater heights.
It makes me obviously incredibly proud of the team that's been here that made that happen, but it also makes me hungry for more. And I just want to continue to scale the operation and to deliver more and more packages to our customers.
Over 28,000 packages like this one are shipped out of this facility per day, and that is only made possible because of the over 250 employees who work at this facility. Amazon facilities in rural areas like Orlando are becoming increasingly common. The retail giant recently announced they'll be investing $4 billion into rural delivery networks. And as we reported last month, the company has already acquired a site to build a delivery center in Reading.
We're going to be able to connect with the community and offer some jobs there, which is super excited for Amazon. And I'm personally very proud of that part of Amazon.
Ivanov told me that once the facility is ready, people who live in Reading will finally have access to features like same-day delivery. In Orland, Nathan Espindula, Action News Now.
The Reading facility is expected to open in 2 to 3 years. The Butte County Fire Safe Council is working on future projects to update wildfire safety in our area. The council met today to discuss prescribed burns, fuel reduction work, and restoration work. And one particular project they're focusing on is the Doe Mill Ridge project in Forest Ranch. The executive director of the council says they will continue to carry out fuel reduction in a number of fronts. The goal is to decrease dense vegetation, restore forest health, and improve watershed resilience.
We also discussed progress in terms of our work in Forest Ranch. We have about 1,000 acres of fuels reduction work that we're working on right now on Doe Mill Ridge, and that's to help protect that community from wildfire in the future, as well as some proposed work with tribes throughout the county to work on project development and inform practices as we move into restoration work within the park fire footprint.
Nielsen says working with local tribes ensures that cultural resources are protected. Also today, the council approved applying for CAL FIRE's California Climate Investments Prevention Program, which is focused on reducing wildfire risk and enhancing forest health. All Butte Fire Safe Council meetings are open to the public. The next one will be 9 a.m. August 6th at the Butte College Skyway Center in Chico.
A Reading man is looking for answers tonight after a barrier was put up at the Amtrak station in Reading that he uses frequently. Action News Now reporter Blake Mayfield brought us some details.
After first noticing a fenced barricade blocking access to facilities inside the Reading Amtrak station a couple of weeks ago, John Hoflick is expressing his concern with the decision.
We can have a train station with a passenger waiting room and toilet facilities that are open.
The Coast Starlight train, which runs from Los Angeles to Seattle, only makes one stop in Reading, around 2:30 a.m. Because of this, Hoflick is wanting not only more routes to choose from due to demand, but also a place where riders like himself can be out of the elements.
We need more frequencies of the trains that go through here.
On Amtrak's website, it lets riders know the Reading station is unstaffed, with no bathrooms, Wi-Fi, or vending machines available. I reached out to Union Pacific, who owns the property here, about why the barricades are put up in front of the train station. Unfortunately, I did not hear back. Reporting in Reading, I'm Blake Mayfield, Action News Now.
While Reading's Amtrak does not have security on hand, the Union Pacific Police Department helps protect Amtrak locations all across the country. Well, we're continuing our fire watch on the Summit Fire, which is burning near Summit Meadow Lake in Siskiyou County. 2 zones are still under evacuation orders: SIS 1414 and SIS 2100. The Summit Fire has burned around 20 acres, and it's in a remote area west of the Pacific Crest Trail, west of Highway 3 in the Klamath National Forest. The U.S. Forest Service says smoke jumper hotshot crews are there at the scene. In all, there are 11 lightning fires burning in the Klamath National Forest. In an Action News Now exclusive, Sherry Papini shares her account of what happened during those 3 weeks that she was missing in 2016. Take a listen. If everything that you're telling me right now is true, there are people who should be in prison, right? Mm-hmm. But because they're not being prosecuted right now, are you ever afraid that you're going to get back into a legal battle and be sued for libel or anything like that?
Well, you can't be sued for telling the truth. And I've learned the hardest lesson that anyone could possibly learn, and that means with my particular charge, I have to back things up. So from here on out, especially when I'm in front of a camera, anything that I say is backed up by evidence. Even trying to speak with you before we did this interview and telling you, even my manager, and providing evidence for you and things that, you have access to now. Everything that I say can be backed up. And that's so important for me. And now moving forward, if I say something, it means it can be thoroughly backed up. So I'm not afraid. And in fact, it would be pretty incredible to have him in a courtroom, because he'd have to answer to what he did to my body. And he would have to answer to some of the things that he said in his interrogation that just don't add up.
Right.
Like the injury to my nose, the way that he describes the injury to my nose, you can't physically replicate that. It's a complete out lie. And so if he were to, for example, try to litigate and bring me to court, I would get that opportunity to tell the truth, and I would get the opportunity to provide all the evidence that I have that concludes what I'm saying is accurate and true, and he can't.
Okay. And to be clear, you're not saying that what you pleaded guilty to, you're not going back on that at all. You feel good about the fact, I guess, essentially, that you pleaded guilty to lying to a federal agent. That's what it was, right? And mail fraud for accepting the help for what you went through. So that's not in question, right?
Well, I wanted to take accountability.
Yeah.
And so, when I decided to sign the plea agreement, I was instructed by my counsel that that was the best option for me. Because going in and seeking counsel, I told him that I wanted to take accountability. I was done lying. I didn't want to lie anymore. And in order to do that, that meant pleading guilty. And not pleading guilty and saying that I was innocent, that meant going to a very lengthy trial. And the trial would not be me versus James Reyes. It was Sherry Papini versus the United States federal government. It's quite intimidating. And I wouldn't get a trial where it would be me versus James, for example, where I could provide all of this evidence that would show that there was culpability on his behalf, that would demonstrate that there was no consent. But that's not who I was up against. I'm up against the FBI, and we know how powerful the FBI is, and a trial would not only be lengthy, but it would completely drain me of my assets, it would completely drain me of my time, and at the very end, I still lied.
Find the full unedited interview under Straight from the Source on our Action News Now homepage, our YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts.
A year after the Thompson fire broke out in Oroville, we'll show you where things stand now with debris cleanup and prosecuting the man charged with starting it.
Plus, what you need to know if overnight roadwork in Gridley is keeping you up at night.